All right, folks, we'll get started in a couple minutes, and welcome to Stock Analysis Fridays. Okay, let's try that again. I just realized that the audio is not in sync, but I think we've got it back in sync now. Okay, good. All right, audio looks good, everybody. Okay, all right. Well, first of all, welcome to Stock Analysis Fridays. It's great to be here. My name is Bennett McDowell with TradersCoach.com. All right, so Jerome Powell came out in the last 24 hours and indicated that the Fed is going to take an aggressive approach to raising interest rates, and probably at 75 basis points next month. So very interesting. Apparently, they're determined to get inflation under control by raising rates. So it'll be interesting to see how that affects the market. Market's down a little bit today, but I still think I want to take a look at the Dow real quick today and just see if we're still got some more upside on B wave. I believe we do. And then we should see some selling, significant selling, but I don't think that's going to happen a little bit later in this year. All right, so let's go through and get some of our administrational items organized here. So let me get down there and take you through first the risks involved in trading. And like I always say, without that risk, there is no opportunity. So the two really go hand in hand. So when we talk about risk, there's a couple different types. There's some risks we can control in the markets called trade risk. And then, of course, there are risks that we cannot control. So you always have to trade with money you can afford to risk, called risk capital. That's step one. And then know how to do position sizing, which is also trade sizing in the markets. If you need help with that, I got a great book on how to do that. And then finally, check with your financial advisor, money manager, or whoever handles your money, and make sure that anything we talk about here is suitable for you, because I don't know your personal situation. So some of the trades that we look at today and recommend may or may not be suitable for you. So definitely check with them. All right, great book on the far right called Money Management for Traders. If you're struggling with money management or not using a money management or risk control implementation into your trading rules, that's the book for you. Very inexpensive, condensed version. We have a lot of other books on the market as well, but that is where you should start. Money Management for Traders. We got a new edition of The Art of Trading coming out next year in the spring, and that is going to be published by our publisher Wiley. And so that'll be out probably in about a little less than a year from now. We use a lot of different types of software when we look at the charts. So I'm going to basically let you go to our website and check that out if you're interested in learning more about that. And then finally, we want you to like, subscribe, and share. Of course, the more people we get here, the more stock opportunities. And we usually find a couple each and every week. So it's almost like a stock picking service, right? All right, so that takes us through that. I wanted to cover, before I see the stocks coming in, and I'll get to those in just a second, a couple markets I wanted to take a look at. GBTC, which is the crypto, well, that's the Bitcoin ETF. Then I want to take a look at the Dow and also silver, okay? That's another one. So GBTC is the crypto, and you know, everybody was in crypto, and it went way up here, and then, of course, now it's right back down to the bottom. So what do you do with this? Well, it's not still coming down. We have a couple indicators that we rely on. One's called here, the PTF. Now, when you look at my charts, I've got a 60-minute chart over here. I've got a daily here and a weekly here. So this is giving us a long-term look at the market. This is giving us an intermediate, and this is giving us a short. And this is called multiple time frame analysis. So what I do is basically take my software and I apply it on 3 different time frames, the short, intermediate, and long, whenever I look at just any symbol. And in this case, it's GBTC. So the short-term chart on the far left is indicating, with that indicator I have circled here called the PTF, there's a 75% probability the bottom's not in yet. All right, so it's still coming down. And basically, you know, you don't want to be long here, and you don't even want to take a long position here. If you happen to be short, you can hold that for a little while longer. We may be getting close to a bottom here, but it's definitely at this particular point not a buy. So stay away from GBTC for a while. All right, next one I want to take a look at is the Dow. Let's see what's cooking with that recently here. And I'm just going to put that up real quick. And one of the things that I wanted to show you here, I'm going to open up the 60-minute chart. So this is our short-term chart where every price bar represents an hour. So we had this move up, and now we're having a move back. Okay, so we're coming back here, and we're probably going to turn around at some point and go back up. But we're just getting back into the target now. So I expect the Dow to come down possibly a little further. It's currently right at the upper level of the target zone, so 32,798, and we expect it to reach down into the 31,801 area is a possibility. So anywhere in between these blue lines is the target for the Dow pullback that we're in now. And then after that, we should get more bullishness coming back. Now, if we look here at the weekly chart real quick, okay, we have a situation where we had a high here, way back in here. This was wave 3, okay? And now we're working our way down. This is an A wave, and this is a B wave, and then we have C wave. So I think what may happen here is we have one more high and then a move, big move down. So that's kind of the way it's looking like. If things deteriorate much quicker than expected, then we may already be beginning in C wave, but I don't think that's it quite yet. I do think the Dow is heading down below 18,000. So you do have to be careful here on a longer term aspect, probably by the end of next year. So if this kind of forecast interests you, we go into much greater detail in the market opportunity report. And I think probably several of you are already in that already, where we can keep you advised each and every week on what the market is doing. And then finally, I want to take a look at silver. And while that's coming up, please go ahead and enter your symbols you want me to look at today in caps. Okay, ETFs and stocks are fine. All right, so silver still coming down. Notice the red indicator at the bottom of the chart here, the PTF, still coming down. We have an active pyramid here and an active pyramid here, both bearish, and over here is bearish. So silver is still coming down, all right, and it's down at 1753. Many people were advised to buy this, not by me, but by others in the 25 to 26 area. And if you had a understanding of technical analysis or even came here, you would certainly know that that was not producing a buy at that time, and it is still not. Now, will silver be good one day? Sure, probably, but it has to bottom yet. And I think we can get you in at a better price. So stay away from silver. Let's look at it every week and see if we can get the timing down on that. All right, let me back up here and see where we can go. All right, Al wants to take a look at US Steel, which is X. So Al, let's jump into that and see what we got cooking on US Steel there. All right, so US Steel, we were looking here, Al, at a move into a target zone. Looked like it hit it a little while back, came back, but it's going back in. So you've got a bullish PTF here. So it's still going into the target zone. Now, this just turned yellow. I don't know if you can see that at home, but it just turned yellow on the daily chart, which is our intermediate chart. I'll try to open that up for you a little bit so you can see that better. All right, there's the yellow, but there's the green. So short term, a little higher. Okay, so if you're thinking about shorting at this point, don't do it. If you're long right now, stay with it. And what I would do is start trailing your stops very closely once that PTF on the 60-minute chart turns yellow if you're long. Your current stop should be at the bottom of this pyramid here. All right, but when it is in the target zone, wait for that PTF to turn yellow, and then you can really ratchet them up, okay? So that's kind of where I would be on that right now. It looks like we may have one more low. Now, if by chance we keep going up, just stay with it, okay, as best you can. All right, so that is US Steel. Hopefully you hit that one right. All right, so let's see what else we got. All right, here we go. Stuart, how are you? Stuart, you notice the hat I'm wearing? Okay, Stuart gave me that hat. All right, GM for General Motors. Let's take a look at this bad boy. All right, so this was so typical looking of many of the stocks that we went long on. And as you can see, General Motors is now creeping its way up into the target zone. So Stuart, here's what I would do on this one. I'd have your stop, I think, right about here. I usually don't move the stop up until I get into the red area. And the reason for that is 15% of the corrective waves end in that red area. So you kind of got to protect yourself a little bit on that. Now, if you are going for the higher 70%, all right, then you're going to want to keep that stop low, all right? But you're pretty close here, and you got to kind of protect your profits. Another way to do this certainly would be to, let's say, take out half of your position here and keep the other half on until you reach the target. There's many different ways you can manage this trade, and it is an art on how you do that, but you can certainly kind of look at it that way. So that's still looking pretty good. You got bullish owls on which are these histogram indicators here. These are called owls on all the charts, and the two ones on the lower time frames are bullish, indicating momentum is still up on the short term. So that's looking good. DOCU, we've looked at this just about every week for the last 3 weeks, and this was one of ours that we liked as well. Let's bring that one up and see how this one. Now, some have been pulling back, all right, and this is the same thing. Okay, so it's pulling back. You got to keep that stop low until you get into the red area, right? So stop's got to be down here. Now, this trade will fail if we failed to pick a correct bottom on this, and that happens sometimes. But you don't want to get out based on the market, going back and forth or the volatility. You want to get out when you're wrong. So keep that stop down here. Do not enter. If you're not in this trade yet, at this time, don't enter yet. Red and red. So no entry yet. We just want to see at this point if that bottom will hold. If it does, and the market turns around, this stuff will start turning green again. And when we look at it next week, we'll see either if we're still in it or if it is producing a buy for new folks that aren't in it. But right now, don't go in it and keep your stop low. It may make another low, and we may have to try again on that. All right, so that's DOCU. TRIP, let's take a look at TRIP. TRIP. Give that a second to load. Okay, so this one actually did bounce off the bottom. We've been looking at this for a couple weeks too. And nice entry off the pyramid down in here. Okay, and notice at the entry point, we had bullish momentum and we had a PTF turning green. And you can go long on a yellow as well. So it's in a pullback phase here still. So we're still coming down, big move up. I wouldn't be surprised if it comes down to a point of inflection, probably another couple points down before this thing heads back up. But the PTF is green on this. It's green on the weekly chart. So you want to be long on here. I would not trade this to the short side at this point. And I wait for this thing to reach a little bit further down before going long. So red owl on the 60, red pyramids. I would not take a new long position on this. Let's take a look at that one next week as well. All right, so those are GU, DOCU, and TRIP. Okay, John, how are you? TITN for you, and then we'll look at OWN. Okay, so this one seems to be moving up here. Let's take a look. I don't know if we've looked at this one before, but let's take a look at that. And pretty kind of a messy chart. We go back to about 2008 on this when it opened up, and kind of like crypto, all the way up, all the way down. Tried again and failed, and now it's tried again, and it looks like it has a little bit better oomph here. So basically, you know, there's no active pyramids to the downside. They've all been stopped out as soon as they get above the flat part of the pyramid, which represents the key level of support. And we have green here, nothing red here. So that's at least a good sign. The only problem I'm seeing with this is where's the target? How, you know, where is this going? And that always can create a problem in trying to figure out the risk to reward. But no question about it, it is bullish even on the lower time frames. However, we did get a yellow PTF here, okay? And we got a little more room to the upside here. So I would put your stop right here on this pyramid. And let's see how high it can go. Now, excuse me, if we make another high and this turns yellow down here, I would definitely take some shares off the table if you're currently long. I would not go long here, all right? Not unless you only want to make about 3 points, because you do have a possibility, like I said before, of getting above the 34.5 mark or 35. And that's about the best target I can give you at this time. So there you have it. Okay, OWN, let's take a look at that. Of course, I got to type it in, right? OWN. Give me a second. Let's try that one more time. Let's see. There you go. Okay, so that's loading now. Okay, that's not loading. I don't think that is a valid symbol. OWN. Either that. So check that. We'll come back to it. Let's check PLUG. See if that one works. Okay. All right. PLUG is loading. Okay. So this one is for Al. How you doing, Al? Okay. So what do you got cooking on this? You're long on this, you say. I kind of would hold this long at this point. So here's what I'm looking at on this one. Nice big move up. Good retracement. Green here. Going green here. Just barely. Okay. Really quick. All right. So there you have that. Okay. And going on up and turning yellow on the PTF here. So your intentions, you got to know what your intentions are. Are you planning to get above 75? Or are you just planning on taking this as a more short-term trade? That's really the question you got to kind of ask yourself. If it's a shorter-term trade, you want to be a little more lenient on the stop. So maybe back in here, okay? Instead of this one. So I would stay long on that. I think it's fine to be long on that. Okay. And on this one here, depending on where you put your stop here, your risk to reward is definitely okay for a long position. So we could recommend PLUG. Let me write that one down. We could recommend that one for a long position, long-term position. So PLUG, put that one down there. Okay, so that's pretty good. That's not a bad pick for today. All right, Dan, how are you? Okay, let's. Okay, give me 1 second. Oxy, I'm sorry, Oxy. Oh, I'll get to yours in a minute, Dan. Oxy for, I don't want to miss Alexander. All right, so Alexander, type in your symbols in caps for me, okay? It just makes me easier not to miss them. All right, Sue, let's see, Oxy, what do we got cooking on Oxy? All right, so it's definitely not a new long position here. It's a position you should have been long in for quite some time based on the pyramids here. Our system here would have had you long a long time ago. So now it's a matter of managing the trade. And you certainly would have your stop right here for now and see if it goes higher. Okay, it's not one I would recommend for new people, but it is certainly one that you can remain long in. So that's a good thing, right? All right, and you're long there, just have your stop here. And that stop should give you enough room for any type of brief breathing in the market or pullback, and then probably you'll get another pyramid and you can move your stop up again. Okay, so that one's good. Stay long, not a bad one. All right, now Dan, I can get to you. Okay, so SMCI, let's take a look at that. Oh, that's a nice one too. Nice long position there, Dan. Okay, so again, not one I would recommend for brand new people, but if it gets a pullback, you certainly could, because this is a big move, okay, on the weekly chart. All right, so you had a breakout here. So you're pretty much in the infancy of a big move. Here's your stop on a long-term chart. So, you know, your stop is 50% lower than where prices are. So your trade size is going to be really small if you take a long position here. Wait for a pullback, okay? And let's see if we can get some better stops and also better entries. If you're long already, all right, then you're in pretty good shape. You know, you can put your stop right here, all right, and play it that way. So that's the way I would do it. Your PTFs just went yellow, so you could have taken a few shares off the table if you wanted to in terms of a scale out. Again, nice position, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's come up too many times. And look at how many price bars in a row this thing has gone up. Statistically, that's a lot. Okay, so after you get that many, doesn't mean it can't go, keep going. But statistically, you're better off waiting for a pullback at that point. All right, so hopefully you're in that one and in that one early, and you're doing good on that one, Dan. Excellent. All right, TAN, let's take a look at that one. Yeah, SMC, so you're waiting to go long. Wait for the pullback, okay? All right, so here's another one. Obviously, we looked at this one before, and let's take a look at it again. So when we looked at it before, it looked pretty good, and it was good because it kept going up, right? So here we are still going up here, and the target looks to me around 132 to 172 on this. This is our target. And at this particular point, if you're not in it yet, I would hold off. Let's see if we get a retracement. Guess what? Red PTF here. So it looks like we're going to come back a little bit. All right. And then maybe surge forward. So I would not go into this right now. Be careful where you have your stop. You know, you haven't had really a super major pullback in quite some time. This was a pretty good one here. So your stop here would be the best place for your stop right now, if you're trying to make it to 132. Okay, if you're just trying to take a little bit out of this move up, then your stop can be here. Okay, otherwise keep that stop as low as possible. All right, and that is TAN. Let's take a look at GLW. Let's see what's cooking on that one. All right, GLW. All right, so green PTF on the weekly with a high somewhere above 45, looks like around, I don't know, 46 or so. You can get your data pointer more accurate on that. And let's do that. Let's just go ahead and go in here and take a look at what that high is. So we're looking at a high of 46.63 based off the PTF, this indicator down here. All right, so that's the high, maybe a bottom here. Up. Nope, can't do anything with that yet. We got to get rid of that red PTF on the 60-minute chart. Then you might be okay for a resumption of a long position. You've already been long, probably down here. Your stop is here. So that's going to protect you from any further slight movements down, which is what this is telling you we're going to get. So then after that, it should rebound. So let's take a look at this one next week. Let's get rid of that red PTF before we recommend that. If you're long already, just have your stop at that pyramid and you should be A-OK on that. That's GLW. All right, Alexander, CSIQ. And you are long on this one. Let's see what this one brings here. Okay, let that load there. All right, well, certainly long is where you want to be, right? Okay, so we got some more room up short term on this. As you can see, when the short term charts have a green PTF, that means short term, you're going higher. So how high? Take the high here of this area here around 48. So it looks like we're going to go ahead and get above this high on the daily chart. Now, after that, if this turns yellow, then you got to be careful of a pullback, okay? So just be careful, a little careful on that. And long term, it certainly could make another high here. Certainly could get above here, but you know, things don't move in a straight line, so it's not going to go like that. Instead, what's going to happen, if this is your target, it's going to be something like this, you know. So you're going to get a pullback, but not quite yet, because you have a green PTF on the 60-minute. So, you know, if you want to put your stop here, protect, I don't know where you got in, but if you want to protect some profits, you can put a stop there or a scale out. So it really depends on your intentions on this one, but probably a pretty good idea to have a stop at some place there for you to protect your current profits. That's CSIQ, good one. All right. All right, let's see what we got here. PSTG for Al, PSTG. Let's take a look at that one. And not in yet. Okay, so you're not in yet. Al, I'm kind of not liking this one too much. All right. You don't have, you know, you have kind of a messy chart on almost all the time frames except the 60. So, you know, you're kind of going bouncy bounce in here, right? So I'm not really sure where this is going. So when I'm not sure where it's going, I stay away from it. All right. So not one for me. Eleanor, DQ. We've looked at DQ. Let's take a look at that one again. All right. So DQ is coming down a little bit. You can see it here. And now it's coming back up. So here's this little area where it was briefly breathing. Okay. Your pyramid was here, kept you in the trade. So now your stop can be here on that pyramid. And, you know, honestly, it looks like it's going to take out a new high up here. So probably, you know, a longer term target would be above 120 on this. And we're sitting at 72. But that's going to require you to hold this for quite some time. And therefore, if that's your target, you want to be much more lenient on where your stop is at this particular point. So, you know, I'll back it off to maybe here. Okay, if you want to try to stay in all the way up here. So that's kind of what I would do. Great position to be long in. If you're not long yet, this is red. Okay, so you got to wait for that to roll over to a green. So DQ, fine to be long in. If you're thinking about taking it, maybe wait it just a teeny bit longer. Okay, if you're already in it, you're great. Okay, and as Gene says, I always call that one Dairy Queen, but it's not. All right, so HPQ for Adam, and right, Adam, that's Hewlett Packard. All right, so let's see what you're doing with this one. Are you long or are you kind of thinking about it? So let's take a look at that long-term chart here. All right, so things kind of got toppy here and along with the rest of the market and kind of moved back down. All right, so what's interesting about this is it really hasn't participated that much in a move off this bottom as compared to some of the other stocks. So that's kind of interesting. There's nothing here that's really helping us in terms of what to do about it. We see negative pressure in the momentum here. And it's kind of in terms of a wave 3, that's a tough one. If you go back to 1997, look at the roly-poly. All right, so kind of interesting. At least we broke out here, right? So that's a good sign. But pretty tough to get an Elliott wave count on that baby. All right, so let's take a look at this. This is a little bit better in that you have a more of a decisive move to the upside. What's interesting here is I would have originally called this a 3, 4, 5, but this owl was higher on the 5. So I think this is a 3. So maybe we're going into a 4 and it could be over. Okay, let's take a look at where the fibs align with that one. The reason I'm spending a lot of time on this is because this may not be a bad one to take to the long side. Let's see if I can draw this in properly, of course. Got to get it. It doesn't want to go up. Huh, that's kind of weird. All right, so I guess I can get it about right about there. All right, so looking here, we just hit the target there. All right, so here's what I would do. We've got price bars coming down, right? You can see those on the 60-minute really clearly, and you've got this one here. Don't go long as these price bars are red. And if they continue to go down and turn this to red, then you got to wait. Otherwise, if you get a rebound with some green price bars here or an inside price bar, you can take that to the long position, but I put your stop at the very, very bottom. The risk in this trade is that the correction is not over and we could go back into the target zone. But by the same token, it did hit the target zone. So you don't want to miss it. So you're kind of forced to take it. It's just that you don't want to take it when it's sliding down. And now you've got a red. Look at this thing just turned red. So you kind of wait for that. You want to wait for that short-term chart to turn around and make sure you don't have any red owls on the daily or the 60-minute. Okay, so be careful on that one. All right. And that's HPQ. All right, BE for OWL, not NBE yet, but how does it look? Let's take a look and see. All right, crappy looking weekly chart, okay, only goes back to 2019. We've got a green PTF here, but the high is only sitting up here. You know, if you wanted to take this probably for a trade that may last a couple days, you might have a 3 here, 4 here, one more high. I don't think you've got much room over 34 on this, but 30, I'd say anywhere from 32 to 34 could be a short-term target to the upside, especially with this thing sitting as green. So you got 26, you'd have to put your stop pretty close so you get that 2-to-1 risk to reward. So I would say yes for a trade that could be a couple days. Okay, so BE, let's put a short-term trade on that, super short-term, but you could take that. Okay, you got green on all the indicators here. As far as anything else on that, it's a crapshoot. Okay, so my only thing is this is the target. That's all I can say with this one. Okay, BE. All right. All right, Dan, we will be there next week in the day trading room. So you're certainly welcome to that. Come in anytime. Love having you. All right, SLB. Let's see what we got cooking there. This one is for John. All right, so SLB, you're already in it, right? So in it, I would take long. Okay, so short term, you're going to be okay. Here's my only reservations with this. I would say, okay, you had a nice pullback, maybe another long position. Okay, this is green, so you're going to get above probably 41. This is red. This concerns me. So what this means to me is that this is not a bottom, that we are probably pulling up, maybe go a little higher, and then have a move down. So you got to make sure your stops are in place on this one. So if you wanted to keep your stop here, all right, and then when this moves up, if this turns yellow, go ahead and scale out a little bit. Take a few shares off in case this thing decides to dip down at any time. Otherwise, just use the pyramids on the daily chart and go up as high as you can in this correction. Okay, so that's SLB. All right, that's kind of where we're at now. All right, so let's take a look at gold. That's another one we should look at. All right, so here's gold, and short term still coming down. Remember, we looked at this one over the last couple of weeks, and we kind of said no buy on this one because it was obviously moving down, and it went below a key level of support here that could have been a possible bottom on an ABC correction, but it kept going down, and now it looks like it's going down further. All right, so don't do anything with this. Now, this is green, but this is not over to the downside yet. So gold is still pulling down. All right, definitely stay out of this one. Oh, Dan, this is a good one, USO. Let's take a look at that one. Glad you mentioned that one. Take a look at the oil ETF here. Okay, so everybody's probably noticed oil's come down at the pump a little bit, right? My kids were overjoyed. They were able to fill the car up for, I think, 40 bucks. So that was pretty good. All right, so let's take a look here. Is the correction over? Are we going back up? Possibly. We did not hit the high probability retracement zone on this. Let's open this up a little bit further here. So we had a big move up off its bottom here. Then it was pulling back. We'd like it to get here before we can more definitively say the bottom is in. So wave 4, if you're an Elliott wave person, 3, and then 5 should take it to another high short term. 70% of the time, the wave 4 is in here in the way in which we draw the fib retracements. You do have a green PTF here, so your stop would be at the bottom here. The risk in the trade is that we have not hit the 70%. Now, 15% of the time, these wave 4s fail and only go here. So it puts you in a difficult position in terms of knowing what to do here, because if you want to be really strict, you would not take this trade, which means that you might miss it, but you'll only miss it about 15% of the time. So you got to make that judgment call. If you want to take it and put it here, you could do that. You have definitely a probably pretty good risk to reward. The next thing you could do here is move your stop a little further down under these fib areas, but just make sure the risk to reward, draw in the various fib extensions based on those stop loss levels to make sure you have the risk to reward still in your favor. You do have green here, so you could take a long trade here. My only problem is it didn't hit here yet. All right, so oil could be going back up, or it could come down one more time and go into there. A little difficult to kind of say. Probabilities are kind of against you for a long trade just based on that one scenario. But it is generating a long trade based on the pyramids, okay? So I'm going to leave that up to you and see how chancy you are. All right, nothing wrong with taking the trade, maybe cutting the position size in half or something of your normal position size, just because it didn't hit the 70%. That's all. Now, if you get stopped out and you're long and you get stopped out, dips back into the target zone, try again, okay, later after you get a rebound from that. So USO, we'll see it. Let's take a look at that next week and see if it's progressing or degressing. All right, I'm not sure exactly how that looks, but the probabilities are not the best for a long trade, but it is indeed a long trade. How's that? Okay. Confused the heck out of you by now? All right, so there's that. Anybody else? What I'm going to do at the end of the session is we'll go ahead and take a look at the day trading charts on some of the markets and see, and I kind of like to end it on those so you can watch the software in real time working on these short time frames. All right, so anybody else? Anything? Did I miss anybody? I think I got everybody. I think we're in pretty good shape. All right, let me just give it another 20 seconds here, and then I'll switch it over to the day trading charts, and we'll go from there. Okay, good. All right, so UC, let's do one more for John here. UCTT. Okay, he's in with a stop at 30. So let's take a look at that bad boy. All right, so the stop is set here. All right, so here's the difficult thing about this. All right, you got a red PTF over here. Your stop's pretty close. So until you breach this high here, your stop should be here. This is close. You can get stopped out on volatility and be right. You know, that happened in the day trading room yesterday. We had our stop too close. We were worried about the risk to reward. So we had the stop too close, stopped us out, and then took off. All right. We were able to get back in, but not as good as if we had just kept our stop lower. So the idea here, okay, would certainly be at this point to lower your stop. I don't know what your risk to reward is. You can't lower it if you've already done your trade size based on a stop here. You can't do it unless you sold out some shares and moved it down here. But that's the only issue I see with this. And with a red PTF here, it looks like here, it looks like if your stop's at 30, you're going to get stopped out, perhaps, because you see that's sitting right here at 30, which is the low. See what I'm saying? Okay. All right, Sun. Let's take a look, Terry, for you at SUN. I'll get to the winners. We don't have that. I'm going to review some of the ones that I think we liked in just a minute. All right, so Sun, SUN. All right, so longer charts are favoring a long position. The 60-minute chart says that we're still going to come down below 38. So we may come down here. That doesn't mean this isn't a bottom. That bottom could hold, but we are due to come down short term below this. So I would not take a long position yet. Let's see it come down and see if that bottom holds and turns around. So let's take a look at this one next week, okay? So for right now, that's how I would play this. If you're long, try to keep that stop as low as you can, okay? Because you really have not had, you got to keep it down here. You really have not had a significant pullback on this run yet. So you got to keep that stop low, okay? If you're in it. If you're not in it, don't go in it yet. I do believe this will eventually resolve back to the upside, but I think we're due for a short-term movement down, correction down, okay? All right, let's take a look at a couple, you know, PLUG, I think I wrote down here as one of the better ones for this week. You know, what's interesting is that a couple of weeks ago, we had a ton of them, but the market's been waffly lately, right? So it's kind of, you know, we're not seeing as many good long positions, and a lot of them that have done good. So they're getting too close to the target. But this one here is okay. All right, this one here is okay. But I'm going to say on this one here, you kind of want to put your stop, if you can, down in here. You could put it here, but if your intentions are to get way up here, I think you got to give the market more room and use this stop. All right, if you're going for maybe a short, quick movement, maybe up to 45, you can use it here. You're definitely going to get some more short-term highs based on this. So PLUG, I'm going to recommend, okay, depending on how you want to play it, either longer term or a shorter term. Okay, and also too, if you get a yellow PTF here, you might want to lighten up a teeny bit if you're in it already, just in case you get that pullback. Okay, so I like that one. Let's take a look at Alexander's CF. And he is long on this one already, and long is where you want to be. Okay, it is not one I think I would jump into now. We have bearish divergence building here. We've probably got a 3, a 4, a 5 right there. All right, we're ending probably 3 here. And you can certainly see a big move up here. Okay, so I do think more highs are coming. 5's not over yet. The reason I say that is the PTFs are both green. but I also think it's too late to take a long position. You should have been in this a long time ago. Okay. That's kind of the way I'm seeing it here. In terms of where I think this is going, let's draw a couple fib extensions in. That's kind of getting wonky. My fib extensions have gotten awful wonky. There it is. Okay. So 132 to 165, I think, is the high on that. Okay. So I do think that's going in. Again, I would recommend this one, except the fact that it's getting too close to the target zone. All right. So thank you, Alexander. So if you're long, stay in it for now and keep your stop, depending on how you want to manage the trades. You got three green PTFs. So don't keep your stop too close, but you can keep it right here. All right. Let it unwind and try to get into that target zone and then be more aggressive with your stops. All right. The other one we liked was BE. Let me type that one in. Okay. So BE was not one we liked in terms of a longer term trade, but it is one for using a shorter term time frame. So we've got green here. So there's a 75% probability we're going to get around 32. And if you put your stop here, here, and here, you got about a 2 to 1. So this is okay. And you got this green, you got this green. So this would be a trade really based off the 60-minute chart over here for a short-term movement up to a final wave 5. So this could be 3, 4, 5. All right, that type of thing. So just based off the PTF on the daily, we have a 2 to 1 risk to reward, which I think is pretty good. Okay. So there you have it. So I'm liking that one. Okay. So BE, but understand it's a really short-term trade. All right. And PLUG. All right. Those are the two for this week. All right. So I think we've got through them all. Let's head on over and take a look at the day trades here. All right. Day trading charts. Woohoo. Woohoo. Okay. So here's the E-mini. Let me just tell you how I have my screen set up so you kind of understand what you're looking at here. So in this case here, 1 minute, believe it or not, 15-second, and 5 minutes. So whenever you kind of have these very short time frames set up here, you have to basically look at them on shorter term time frames. And you have to make sure they have good liquidity. So on this movement here, all right, notice the pyramids did a great job when it started to trend down. So again, your stop would be here right now, and that would be a nice little move down you took out. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at a couple of the others here for day trading. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ. Imagine all the equities have moved down. Market's off now about 567. So again, the pyramids did a great job tracking down. These little MPs here, we use those to scale out if we don't have a pyramid close. So there you have that one. Okay. This move here, if you went in here right at the open, you would have been stopped out here for just a slight profit based off your entry on that small pyramid up here. And then you would have had to get back in on this one. Okay, so that's basically you would have gone in here, stop here or here, and you would have been stopped out here. But you can see that level slightly lower than when you got in. Then you'd go back in, trail your stops down. Okay, so that's how that works. You got red PTF. So if you haven't been stopped out and you're still short this, you would remain short term. Now, what's interesting is that we have a green PTF here. So this is getting ready, I think, to bottom and turn around. And so after we cover our shorts, we'll probably be looking for a long at that point. All right, let's take a look at the Russell. You'll see the same picture on almost all the equities. This was actually the best trade for the day because you would have never, you would have gotten out here. Okay, again, break-even trade there. And then you would have this is actually not as good as the NASDAQ. Okay, profitable, but not as good as the NASDAQ. All right, let's take a look at gold. Boy, gold's heading down today too. So this would have been a nice trade to the short side on gold. Okay, boom. All right, and then ZB, I'm not going to look at. Let's take a look at the E-mini Dow. Same thing, beautiful trade. Pyramids work great on these charts. Okay, super. This would have been the best trade. I don't think you got it stopped out there, but if you did, You could have gone in right here at the smaller pyramid. But now you've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 trades in a row. 10, not 10 trades, 10 pyramids in a row. So you're getting ready for trend exhaustion. So you never go in, you know, this late in the trend. It's too risky. Okay. So that kind of thing. All right. So, you know, those are all coming down. They're still coming down. All right. Let's take a look and see. Let me find where my, okay, that's gold. Where's my crude oil? There it is. Okay. So let's take a look at crude oil here. This was left over from day trading the other day. Let me move this. Okay. So on this one here, I would have taken no long positions here because you're trading against that. So nice short trade earlier in the day. You're out. Nothing long. See these green MPs? First of all, they're miners. Okay, so that's one thing. But the other thing is that you never go long when the PTF is red. All right, so if anything, I'd be looking for perhaps to go short here. This is red now. This is red. And this is red. So we may be going down for one more low. So if you wanted to take a scalp trade here based off just this indicator, not the pyramids, entries here, exit here, and your 2 to 1 is not quite there. So you can't take it at these prices. You'd have to wait a little bit. Okay, that kind of thing. Yeah, I would say wave 3 probably on that one. It could be a C wave. Sometimes you see those on a C wave too. All right, Samuel. All right, let's take a look. Let's go back for Samuel and take a look at what is it, XU. This is the 3-time inverse ETFs. You got to be careful on these, okay, because you can get burned. They're pretty interesting. All right, so what do you do with this bad boy? All right, so it's been coming down, but check out the green PTF. Oh my God, right? So you've got that on the weekly chart, which indicates that probably if we're right and we get that sell-off that we're anticipating bleeding over into 2023 with a low on the Dow of around 18,000, this thing is going to perk itself way up. Don't forget, it's inverse. So this is something that will go up when the market's going down. And notice since we've been in a bullish B wave, this thing has come down. All right, so that's kind of where it's at now. So in terms of a long trade here, you wouldn't go long here at this point because of this. If you were long earlier, your stop is probably just barely holding at this point because it should be at the very bottom. All right, so that's SPXU. Okay, UPRO. All right, let's take a look at that one. UPRO. All right, so this is another 3x inverse, this time on the S&P 500 as well. All right, and red PTF is not good here. So that means it's going to go down again. So I would be very cautious of a long position here. It looks like this is going to go down again. So if this goes down again, that means the market's going up, right? So looks like B wave is probably not over. Now, doesn't mean we're going to have a little more short term. We may come down a little bit more because you remember I showed you that target zone on the Dow in the beginning of today. We kind of have a lot of room left to go down on the markets before it hits a retracement bottom and then go back up. So I think that's kind of what this is reflecting as well. So it looks to me like a B wave is in a minor pullback. We have not begun C wave yet. We're still in B wave, but nothing goes straight up. So it's a slight breath in B wave. And that's exactly what this chart is saying. Okay, so there you have it. All right, cool. Thanks, Samuel, for sharing that. All right, let's go back and just we'll close it out by leaving these at a few here. Let's just put the E-mini up for here right now. Keep that up. Everybody loves the E-mini. And we'll see how this does. All right. So you'd still be short this trade here. Your stop would be right here, pretty close. So if we get a perk up, you're going to be out of the market from your short position. And then we may want to think about realigning ourselves, but probably going to be a little while before we decide if we want to go long. Now, very quickly, okay, so we got an MP here generated, but that's an MP, and we're still short technically. So if we just draw some fibs, we may get a retracement up to that area there. I'm a little concerned about jumping on board for a long-term long position because this is so negative. So I anticipate a move into this target, 3, see it's saying 3, okay, 4, and then 5. So maybe a long retracement trade could be possible. And one of these things when you're day trading, when you see a big move down like this, you got a lot of people short that are day trading. So they're going to cover, and that's going to help accelerate this thing into the target zone, which is a fib retracement. All right, that's why fibs work so well. All right, so in this case here, we've got a green and a green, okay, and I believe we may have just gotten stopped out here. Oops, data box. Okay, so the high, our stop was set on the top of this pyramid, the flat part, base leg. That's 41.23 1/4, and we are at 41.24. So you can go long here. Put your stop at the very bottom. Okay, and your 2 to 1, I think, will put you in there. You probably, at this case, because now you've broken out, you could probably actually put your stop here. I put it right here because now you've broken out and made a new high here. So stop here would be okay. All right. Now, if wave 3 continues to go down and we never even get to the red area, you're going to get stopped out. But in terms of probability, this looks like a good long trade at this point. So the short trade was great. We covered. Now we go long. That's how that works. Okay. Samuel, my pleasure. Okay, my pleasure. Okay, Powell at Jackson Hole, Fed leaning. Yeah, I saw that too, John. I read that too. Okay. 75 next meeting at the Dow Jones. Yeah, so there it is. Okay. I think 75 basis points is kind of what they're leaning towards. Okay. All right. So I think that's it. Any other questions? Anything else? So on let's go back to UPRO. Okay, so that's not an inverse. Did I say inverse? All right, so let's check that one out again. Okay, so let's go back here and see. So, all right, so this is saying it's going to come down more here, okay? So basically, short term up, longer term down, all right? So again, notice here, this is the COVID low, all right? So that, we're saying we're going to get into the 18,000s into the Dow. And that's below the COVID low. I think the COVID low was 18 and some change, like 200 and something. So this is a long-term here. This is B wave. This would be A wave, C wave. Okay. So that's basically looks just exactly like the Dow. And this is green because we're still in B wave. Okay. So that's kind of what I meant to say. I said inverse, excuse me. All right, misspoke. The first one was an inverse. Okay, so let's go back here. We'll just kind of leave this here and see what happens, okay, on this one. All right, so listen, great job, everybody, today. Super job. Summer's almost over, right? Boy, we're getting in towards close to Labor Day. Okay, so hope everybody's had a good summer. It's been a hot summer here in San Diego, I can tell you that. All right, so we'll see you back here next week. I'll go ahead and turn my cam off and you guys can just watch this, and we'll keep it on for 10 minutes and then close the room, okay? So it'll be kind of interesting to see what happens with this. If anything happens and, you know, I see something, I'll come on and give you some commentary on it. But otherwise, I'll just keep it on here. I'll put a little music on. All right, thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next week. All right, so we got the owl turn that's turned red with a pyramid on the 60-minute chart over here. See it? So that is, you would not take this to the long side now. If you went in earlier, fine. That's why you have to have your stop here. But if you're just showing up now and you're seeing this with this, okay, you would not go into it until those get bullish again. Then we got to watch this to make sure that doesn't go red. Okay, so stop at the bottom is where we want it, because we only want to get out if our analysis is wrong. Okay, and our analysis is saying this is a 3 and we're going up here for a 4. So if 3 is not over, we'll get stopped out because we're wrong. That's the way you want to get stopped out. You don't want to get stopped out on the volatility. I mean, that kind of stinks when you have your stop too close. You get stopped out and then it does what you thought it was going to do, but you're not there because you were stopped out, right? How many times does that happen? All right, so now this is turned red in real time. So you would not, if you were just showing up to this right this second, you would not be taking a long position. You got to wait for this thing to turn around before taking it at this point. If you got in over here, right after like what we talked about here, over here, then your stop's got to be down here. And if this turns around before getting stopped out, no worries. And don't forget, you got to calculate the trade size. So you're always risking a certain amount. Very important, okay? All right, just wanted to chime in there. The other important thing, chime back in, is that this is extremely negative. All right, so you always, when this is really negative, even if you go long here, do it with half a trade size that you would normally. It just increases the risk when this owl is still negative, because we could still be in a major 3. Boy, talk about hanging in there with a thread, right? So we did not go below that current low, but we still certainly could. All right, and if we get stopped out, we're gonna have to redraw the fibs and try again at the next bottom. But let's see, anything can happen. Could be a double bottom, hard to call. Okay, so now you're out. Okay, you have to get out when the time comes to get out. Let me go back to the chart and you can see we dipped below that. So now what you have to do is keep track of the fib retracements. Just keep moving them down because you'll have another opportunity to go long. So when things changed from here to here, this is why I didn't want you to go in here, because you got to wait for it to turn around. Okay, and it didn't do it. But if you're already in it, there's nothing you can do. Just keep your stop down there. So it's not time to go back in yet. You'd have to wait it out. But I do think this is going to be a really good trade to the long side, but it looks like it's still unwinding just a little bit. You'll have your opportunity. All right, folks, so that's it for today, okay? So we'll see you back here next week. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a great weekend.